Greetings, peaceful people. Now, there's no right and wrong when it comes to how you apply or practice or how you demonstrate your craft pertaining to metaphysics. Many people they come at me, and they're like, "Yo, am I doing this wrong? I want to make sure I'm doing this right. I want to follow the rules and instructions and things of that nature." But you always got to remember in the back of your mind that there is no right and wrong pertaining to how you demonstrate the craft of metaphysics. Nobody can come and look over your shoulder and tell you, "Oh, you're doing that wrong or you're doing that right." Now, there are rules when it comes to practicing, whether it's astrology or whatever. I mean, of course, like there's like rules of operation or how you would go about doing things, and that's just like on a basic level. But once you learn the basic rules of the thing, you pretty much got a lot of openness and a lot of leeway. For instance, once you learn the basic rules of astral travel, which is some of the basic rules of astral travel would be make sure that you are dressed lightly, make sure that you are laid down on a flat surface, maybe the first couple times you're doing it. Make sure that you are in a room and in an area that's totally quiet and that you're totally at peace, and that make sure you're in a state of love and not fear. Like, those are just some of the rules when it comes to astral travel. But like which crystal you should bring with you, or which color you should have amplifying it as far as like lighting and things of that nature during your astral travels, all of those things are kind of like open. That's where your creativity comes in at. It's just like, say for instance, art. In art, there's rules to art. Certain colors, when you mix certain colors together, they make other various different colors. But you got a lot of leeway with this stuff. So I just want to kind of throw that out there before I get into this. Now, people have been asking me, like, what's the exact meaning of the number 17? Now, there is no, this is where I'm going back into what I just told you. There is no exact meaning to anything when it comes to metaphysics. Now, there are certain elements and certain rudimentary principles that may be associated with the number 17, but how the number 17 is going to play out for you if you've been seeing it, that's kind of up to your discretion. Now, I'm going to talk about the number 17 in reference to, I could use the modality of numerology to speak on this, which I may do a little bit of, but I really want to focus on the number 17 in reference to the oracle, the ancient Egyptian oracle. Now, I do oracle readings. You can check out the site one day to check that out. But I do oracle readings, and you can get with the service. I have a service that sets up all my appointments and things like that for me, which is all done through the website. But I do oracle readings, and I realize that when I consult the oracle, I look at it like I'm consulting a program. And I look at it like, when I'm consulting this program, it's going to give me certain information, but it's up to me how I use the information to create my future. The oracle is going to tell you a little bit about the past and how that ties into the present, and it's going to give you an idea of, if you stick to this course and you stay on this road, this is how the future is going to play out. So when I consult the oracle, I know that I can always change my future. So I look at it as just information. Just straight up getting information. Any type of divination work I do, any type of astrology work I do, I look at it all as just useful, good information. And I look at it like it's up to me what I do with it. I'm like an artist, and I may do 1,000 readings. Now, those 1,000 readings, I may learn all type of stuff, but some of the information I may not use. Other parts of the information I may put it into application in my life. So that's how you should look at it when it comes to like understanding numbers. And like, if you keep seeing, and people always say, well, I keep seeing this number and that number. Learn the basic principles. Learn everything you need to know about that number by going into maybe different schools of thought, like numerology, astrology, the I Ching, and just different schools of thought. Learn as much about these things as you can, and then from there you can kind of like come up with more of an explanation of what this means for you, because you have to be your own reader. Even when you go to a reader, like if you say, for instance, you come to me, you have to look at me like I'm a program for you. Like, in your reality, I'm a program. So when you come to me to get a reading, you are just essentially tapping into a program to get useful information. what you do with that information is totally up to you. How your future is going to play out based upon that information is totally up to you. But you attract, like as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. This lets you know that the student attracts the teacher, not the teacher. Don't go looking for students. That's one thing about being a teacher. You have the student attracts you. That's why it's so interesting. I noticed that from just me being in this teaching field of teaching metaphysics, is like you guys set the tone for the videos that I do. And not even just the videos that I do, but the information I give you guys in different readings and stuff. It's all about your energy. And you totally tap into the law of attraction when you get into this type of work. And it's magical, and it's like you really learning about luck and fate and things that you thought weren't in your control, but they really are. That's what you're really learning about. But it's new to us, so it may take you. Some people been studying this shit for 50 years, and they still don't all the way get it because it's a lie, and it's in your DNA. However, we haven't been practicing this. We've been asleep for over 6,000 years, so we haven't been practicing this stuff for over 6,000 years. So yeah, sounds crazy, and it's like you waking up. This information is kind of like the way the world looks when you first wake up in the morning, when you're still in that dream state and you're like disoriented and you're like, oh, what's going on here? I gotta walk, I got legs, I gotta go in the mirror to get in the shower. You gotta remember everything about your life. And that's what happens when you wake up to this type of information. You have to remember your life on the fourth dimensional plane, on the metaphysical plane. So the number 17, according to this oracle deck, this is the deck that I use, and you can purchase this deck anywhere. However, this was given to me as far as myself. You can purchase this deck, I'm sure, like online somewhere, one of those websites or whatever, one of those .coms will have it. But I just do the readings, whatever, to help people get information. I open myself up as a channel, and I try to help people get as much information through my portal as they can. So I look at it like it's not the cards. It's the person giving you the reading. It has a lot to do with it too. So you have to be careful who you get a reading from and things of that nature. And just go with someone that resonates with your spirit, just in general. So the number 17, when you deal with these cards, it's two different places that it comes up, or two different cards that demonstrates the number 17. One card is basically, like when you decode anything, you have to ask yourself, am I seeing this number 17 because of some type of energy that's present that I need to identify? Remember, energy. Or am I seeing this number because there's some type of event that's associated with the number 17 that may need my attention? So, for instance, the number 17 came up. I'm going to read this card, and I'm going to tell you what the number 17 would mean energetically if it was talking about an event. But as I read this card, I want you to think about that missing airliner, which was like Flight 17 or something like that. That flight that back in June that crashed or whatever. Remember, the number 17 was locked into that particular flight. And I want you to think about that as I read this and see does it have any similarities. I know that was a very rather tragic thing, but just keep an open mind. Remember, we're reading this from the eye of a metaphysician, not from the eye of somebody that's spooky and scary of the unknown. Now it says, this is an enigmatic pylon. This is the number 17 card. This is how it would look in the deck. And it says hope on the card. It represents hope. But if you're going to notice, this hope is in the future, because when you're going through a number 17 type of event, it's usually something catastrophic or tragic a lot of times, and you have to look to the future to find the light. So follow me here. It says, this is an enigmatic pylon, rather like a distant, comforting light appearing on a very dark and stormy night. It has the power to minimize the more negative pylons. It also highlights our physical drives, but warns us to avoid establishing a relationship that is founded on physical attraction alone. Should we proceed, the relationship will fail in the long term. There is also the desire to help others, but this appears to be on a detached and unevolved level. There will be the possibility of becoming involved in a cause of some kind. This is, of course, highly commendable, but we will have to be very selective when deciding how worthy the cause is. So as you can see, The number 17, it's a very optimistic card, but it seems to be more so very physical. And the number 17 is dealing with the finite aspect of reality because it adds up to the number 8. So usually when you deal with the number 8, it's usually going into either something finite or infinite. Because the number 8, if you notice the symbol for it, is two circles stacked up on top of each other. This is how you draw a number 8. Some people draw it and it looks like an infinity sign, the number 8 does. The Egyptians, the sign for infinity was their number 8. So the number 8 represents infinity, but however, to understand infinity, you have to go into the finite. So you notice that this said that this card deals with physical drives and attraction and making sure that you look at the inside of a person before you get with them, and to make sure that the inside of a person matches your polarity as well as the outside. So the number 17, just like the number 8, deals with that duality of the finite and the infinite. The infinite being the inner self and the inside, and the finite being the outside. So when you deal with situations and events that vibrate to the number 17, you're dealing with a situation that it starts off with the number 1, which is ruled by Mars. So you're dealing with a situation that may start off to be very malefic, because Mars is a malefic planet. It may start off and look as though it's catastrophic, or it may look as basically the number 17 is easily, if you judge it based off of the physical, you can easily get lost and lose the meaning of what the number 17 is trying to show you. So don't look at the physical aspect of how it's revealed to you. Look at the inner aspect of what's being said. So like when you deal with that missing Malaysia flight 17, you could say, oh, a plane crashed and some people died. And on one level that may have happened, but there is a metaphysical aspect to that flight. And I did a video on it, on one of those 17 flights. There's actually 2 of them. But maybe one day in the future I'll do another video talking about that. But there's more of a metaphysical aspect to that. Like that had to happen to free some energy up. And that's the thing about this plane, and we judge polarity. Like we judge negative situations, we're just getting caught up into the law of polarity when we do that. So you may judge the situation, oh, that was bad, these people died, and things of that nature, but some things had to happen to free energy up. So that's the 17. A lot of times people say it represents sacrifice, because of the fact that to get into the inner meanings and understanding of the number 17, you have to sacrifice your attachment to the physical reality. 17 is a deep number, very deep spiritual number, because it forces you to look past the physical if you want to get its meaning and understanding. So that's what a 17 event would represent. But it's an optimistic card. You have to look at it on the long-term level. It's very optimistic on the long-term level. Just on the short term, that's how people get caught up. And they're looking at the short-term aspect of the physical event in the number 17. Now there's another interesting glyph for the number 17. And this card is called Impulses out of the ancient Egyptian oracle. And this impulse card is represented by an energy. Remember I said sometimes it may be an event vibrating to the number 17, and then other times there is an energy associated with, like, the reason why you're seeing the number 17 is because there's some type of an energy you're supposed to get from it. So this would deal with your instincts. This card it's called Impulses. And this goes into your instincts. So when I read this card, read it from an open mind and the mind of a metaphysician to get the meaning of the overall vibration of the card, and don't get caught up on everything that it's saying. It says, there are times when for some obscure reason we are prompted to take some course of action that in normal circumstances we would consider unwise or foolish. So it's impulsive, like an air flight. Remember that flight? It crashed. It was impulsive. Nobody knew that was going to happen. So that was the impulsive energy associated with that flight. Bears witness to this card. It says there seems to be no rules about judging whether the results will be positive or negative, but our actions may well prove beneficial in the long term if only because we will learn from them. It says there are times when our instincts appear to take control over our day-to-day logic. Of course, it takes a considerable amount of courage to obey these promptings when the more cautious side of our personality counsels hesitation. Perhaps the best advice is, if the impulse feels right, give in. So this lets you see the chaotic, radical nature associated with this number 17, because it represents chaos. And when number 17 comes, it can look like it's coming to fuck some shit up, and it looks like it's radical and it's unorganized, and it looks like it's not going in the right direction, or you can't really predict it. This is all associated with the number 17 because you're dealing with energy, and us as humans, we have very little control over. Like the number 17 itself represents energy. Like I know there's energy associated with different numbers and different things and cards and items, but I'm saying the number 17 itself represents energy. That's one of the things that it represents. And it represents impulsive energy. So this is energy that we have very little control over. So the number 17 is deep. It talked about, as far as the energy associated with this card, it goes against your day-to-day logic, which means that you can't understand really the number 17. Because most people don't understand the number 8. Most people only understand the lower aspect of the number 8. But remember, it's 2 circles. See, the number 8 really takes you into 720 degrees because you're looking at 2 ciphers stacked up on top of each other, which equals 720 degrees. 360 degrees plus 2, or times 2, is 720. So you're dealing with 720 degrees in dealing and looking at the number 17, because it breaks down to the number 8. It's one of the numbers that breaks down to the number 8. But it's the most interesting number as far as some of the double digit numbers, because it can't be divided. Like, say for instance, if I was to talk about the number 26, that adds up to 8, but the number 26 can be divided by 2 into 13s, which is a number that cannot be divided. So the number 17 is an odd number. So if a person is, like, you may have been born on the 17th. These are odd people. These people don't fit in. They're not even, which means that they don't fit in. They have to find their own mode and way of doing things, and the way people perceive them is usually incorrect. There's usually something hidden, secret, or occult, because the number 8 goes into the 8th house. So there's usually something hidden and secret and occult about a person that vibrates to the number 17. Something you just can't quite put your finger on. So as I was saying before, you see the number 1, which represents Mars, and then the number 7, which goes into Neptune and Jupiter. So the number 17 is working with all of those planets, working with Martian energy, Neptunian energy, and Jupiterian energy. Now the Jupiter energy causes the number 17 to see the bigger picture. They see the bigger picture with things. The Neptune energy causes the number 17 to be extremely psychic. And then the Martian energy goes into the ambition, because people that are born up under 8 vibration, or don't get it twisted, they spiritual as heck, but they're ambitious on a physical realm. So the number 17 and number 8 in general is a very hard number in general. And people that vibrate to this number are usually very intense. Some people may say they're hard to deal with. They're not really hard to deal with. It's just that they have a lot of intensity and you don't understand them. You got to remember, when you're dealing with an 8, you're not going to understand everything about them. So you have to deal with them in that perspective. Don't try to put them into your little box, because you're dealing with infinite energy now. Though it looks finite. So remember that people misjudge this whole number 17 thing, because they look at it like, oh, it's the number. It's just like, it's finite, like you're looking at the number 8 itself, and you try to judge it. Say for instance, the number 17 person, they usually have a very odd physical structure. Something about it is unique. Not saying it's wrong or it's gruesomeness or anything like that, but something about their physical structure is unique. And you're going to look at the physical structure and judge them and what type of person they are based off that, and you shouldn't. You can't do that with the number 17, because their physical structure is really designed to blind you into seeing the inner aspect, is what you want to really look at with the number 17, and getting the inner information that's available within that number. So I hope that helped answer you guys' questions. I got some emails for me to do a video on number 17 and what it means, astrologically, and what it means numerologically, and ultimately what it means in reference to the ancient Egyptian oracle. So I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste to you all. Thank you for the support, watching the videos. I'm in a very chipper mood. I'm revamping 13 Signs Astrology, so I'm having a good time. It's like we're going back into business again, the way I see it. So very interesting times. I thank you guys for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste, light, and love.